which quarterback taken between Cam and Shador, or even after, I'll give you the floor. Which one do you think is? We already mentioned about Dart. I don't think he's starting. I just don't think he's going to start this year. And if the Giants had their druthers, they'd have a successful season with one of the two backups, and Dart would watch or look and maybe wet his beak a little bit, like Patrick Mahomes did at the end of his first year. So I guess from Shuck to McCord or even Ewers, tell me who you like in the mix that we have right there.
Yeah, so real quick, so I'll go from top to bottom. Obviously, Cam Ward's going to start. It looks like they're going to follow the Joe Burrow model and kind of what they do at Cincinnati and a lot of ball distribution, and I think that's a good situation. I agree Jackson Dart shouldn't start. I mean, he's, I don't know if you saw the Gruden clip. He doesn't even know how to use a cadence. They did the clap cadence. It was great with Coach Gruden when he was like, give me your cadence, and he clapped. He's like, seriously? He's like, this is all we do. So, there's a lot of, while super talented, there's a lot of stuff he's going to have to learn. I think Tyler Shuck's going to play just because, you hear the stories of Derek Carr, and I think that was part of the reason why they liked Tyler Shuck is we need an adult in the room in a way. Obviously, his age is a big part of that conversation, and so if Derek Carr can't play, you feel somewhat comfortable with Tyler Shuck. I don't think Milroe plays, but I loved this pick for Seattle. For me, he was a guy that if you just believed in development and you believe in that young man's work ethic and his character, and you just give him time to work on because he's still just scratching the development phase moving forward. I honestly, if I was Cleveland, and this is a little bit easy because my job's not on the line type of thing, I think the world of Kevin Stefanski. But if I was Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, and I had a pretty good feeling that we're going to be here for those 2 first-round picks of next year that they have to maybe decide the quarterback situation, I would be hard-pressed to not start Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders. I want to play one of those guys. Maybe I play both of them over the course of the season. Let's see if we struck gold with one. Let's see if we got lucky with one and we found a rookie year Dak Prescott type of player. So I think they're both in good situations, but I think we'll see a decent amount of rookie quarterbacks play this year.
Right. Okay. And then, the rest of them, if you wouldn't mind, Mike Hoskins, popping that back up on the screen, those quarterbacks, McCord and Howard, those are two guys that we've been talking quite a lot. Will Howard sits there too. I mean, McCord is, I guess, in the Tanner McKee spot to try and compete there behind Jalen Hurts. Will Howard, I mean, you look at the Steelers and you're thinking, obviously, they've got to be thinking, and we had Tomlin on Saturday on NFL Network. He basically said we're expecting him to come. I dare not to put words in his mouth, but the rest of the guys are definitely going to be there and hopefully sticking with a team and developing. But what about Howard there in Pittsburgh, do you think?
Yeah, Dan? Will Howard, first of all, it starts with Aaron, right? Everyone knows that. If Aaron's going to be there, Aaron's going to be starting quarterback. If for some reason Aaron's not going to be there, then it's really Will Howard and Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph's one of the better backups in the NFL. So everyone that you talk to about Will Howard loved the guy, loved the way that his teammates loved him. He obviously got hot at the end of the season. He's a big athletic dude with a big arm that can, you got good perimeter pieces. I think of obviously the Jeremiah Smith connection that he had as the playoff went on, and DK Metcalf and George Pickens. So he's a little bit, I want to use the phrase like afterthought right now, because the focus in Pittsburgh from both, I would imagine, internally and externally is Aaron Rodgers, but there's still the chance that he doesn't go until he actually goes there. So if he doesn't go, I think Will Howard probably becomes a little bit more of the conversation. If Aaron goes there, he's probably the guy that you're looking at to the future and as your number 3 quarterback.
What's next? T.J. Watt signing? Is that next on the radar screen?
Yeah, if there's any extension, it will be with T.J. Watt, and it would be sometime in the summer. Certainly, that is their preference. That is their priority. I can't imagine, despite all this conjecture about a tweet that they saw with T.J. Watt, that he wants to leave. I've never gotten that impression. Will it come down to money? Sometimes it always comes down to money, Rich. But in terms of wanting to leave to go somewhere where he feels he can win a playoff game and maybe a Super Bowl, never got that sense from him. He is content to do that here because he knows they're close. They have been to the playoffs, Rich, for the last 5 years. It's just a matter of taking that next step.
And the fact that George Pickens didn't get traded, despite rumors there, does that mean we're going to see him on the field? It's going to be him and DK and whoever throws the ball for Pittsburgh?
Yeah, very presumptive rumors, Rich. I never expected that to happen. It was never indicated to me that was going to happen. Now, that being said, I do not expect him to be here beyond this year. They will not give him a second contract. They have until November if they want to trade him and pick up. Look, they got a number 2 for Chase Claypool. Maybe they can snooker another NFL team and get a number 2 for George Pickens. And then what you do, Rich, is maybe I've outlined this to you in the past, pick up another 2. They get a bunch of comp picks, 3 and 4 next year, 3 and 3rd and 4th round, package a bunch of those together, move up in the first round, and go get the quarterback you want.
Well, I mean, they might have a lot of competition in that regard, Jerry, certainly within the division. Cleveland got a first of Jacksonville's right off the bat to start the draft, passed up drafting Travis Hunter for that, and that despite how crowded their quarterback room might be right now, the sense is that Cleveland's going to be in on that game and a ton of other franchises going to be in on that game. Jerry? Well,
here's a shocker, Rich. If that's the case, that just means Cleveland wasted 2 draft picks, which, of course, has been their history. And, what surprises me about that move is I believe the Shedeur Sanders move came from Jimmy Haslam. And what surprises me about that is he was a Steeler investor for years. And being an investor and being around the Steelers, he learned nothing about running a franchise. That's my 2 cents, Rich.
Show me the back of your hand, Jerry. Can I see it? Show me the back of your hand. Let me
see.
Sure.
Which one do you want, Rich?
Well, which one did you just throw at Cleveland? I just want to know.
I do that for my friend Tony Gross.
Now let's turn the page a little bit because Kirk Cousins is sitting there in Atlanta. And now that we're after the draft and we've seen teams get quarterbacks, and again, some of them are in a quarterback draft class that has been considered lighter than usual. But what does this now look like post-draft? Kirk Cousins sitting where he is, Derek Carr sitting where he is, and his situation. I'll give you the floor on what happens next. Here.
Sure. As has been the case for the last month, I guess a lot hinges on Aaron Rodgers and what happens with him.
Right.
I think at this point, it's fair to say the Vikings are out of it for now. And unless something goes wrong with J.J. McCarthy over the next 6 or 7 weeks, they're probably out of it for good. The trade for Sam Howell takes care of the depth part of the equation, which I think they'd have considered at the right price. If the Falcons were willing to take on the money, they'd have considered bringing Kirk back. But, now that they have Sam Howell on the roster, I think that's sort of off the table for them. And then you look at Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh, I think, is just sort of in that holding pattern, waiting for Aaron Rodgers. We heard what Art Rooney said over the weekend, that, he's confident that they'll wind up landing him. And if Pittsburgh's off the table, I mean, now for Kirk, you're sort of in this, you're waiting for someone to get hurt. You know what I mean? I think that's sort of where they are. I think the Falcons have been willing to listen. And, there was some feel out there that, Terry Fontenot is going to try to move him on day 3 of the draft. But I'm not sure that the market was out there for him at this point. And